Welcome to Behind the Badge with your special guest, Lieutenant Williams, your news source for all things police in the city of Fond du Lac.
Welcome back into Fond du Lac today on News Talk 1450 and 100.7 KFIZ. Another Friday morning, another time to talk with Lieutenant Williams and Officer Clapper for Behind the Badge. And there's another person, Lieutenant Williams. Who'd you bring? Face looks familiar. I know we've chatted in the past.
Yeah, I think this is the second appearance at least for Officer Jack Malloy, who is now a full-fledged member of our police department. I think he came in before on field training. And part of that finishing field training, once you get on the road, we do something called a POPS project. And POPS stands for Problem-Oriented Policing. And we basically find somewhere in Fond du Lac where there's a need, something that needs to be addressed. And we kind of address that problem by focusing a lot of our attention on that. So every new officer, once they get up on their own, has to come up with their own POPS project.
Yeah, so I'm Officer Malloy. My POPS project, what I've been focusing on is vehicle entries and vehicle-related crimes. When I started and I was in field training, there was a big rise in people having their cars broken into or things being taken out of their vehicles. And I thought this would be a perfect thing to work on because it's, I'm going to be off field training soon and I'll be able to maybe help out with that. And I've noticed in all the calls that I've taken while I was in field training and once I was by myself, I noticed that people just didn't lock their vehicle. And I'm not saying that it's those crimes where people break into your vehicle and smash the window or something to grab something. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but all of the calls that I've taken, either the vehicle's been unlocked or they had their windows down enough to where somebody could reach in and unlock the vehicle. And most of the time, the stuff that was taken from the car was in plain sight. So I'm really trying to crack down on it. It's difficult to, I guess what I'm trying to do is make it so there's no opportunity, because it's a crime of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
People are going around, they're pulling on handles, they find one that's open, and then that's when they go in and grab whatever they can. So,
Right, it's something where if it's easier to do it, it's an easier crime to commit. And, if you have to smash a window, obviously that's going to be noisier, it's going to take longer, and they have a chance for injuring themselves. But if they can just pop open the door real fast, grab what they can see in plain sight, it's a much easier crime.
Mm-hmm. And I was trying to pull some numbers, and I don't know the exact numbers offhand, but I asked our dispatchers to pull all vehicle-related crimes like vehicle entries, thefts, cars being stolen, and I think it was around 40-some crimes in a month's period in the spring, and the majority of them, the cars were unlocked. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm not able to, dial down on the whole city. That's going to be a bigger project than just a short period of time I have.
That's why you talk on the radio, because everybody listens to Behind the Badge every Friday morning.
Exactly. So what I've been kind of zoning in on is apartment complex parking lots, just because there's so many vehicles in these lots, and I think the people that are going out trying to pull on these handles, they're going to go to these lots where there's multiple cars. They can just go car to car to car, and then until they find one that's unlocked. And so that's where I'm focusing on right now. But again, that's why I'm here today, because I wanted to spread it throughout the whole city. So I'm hoping to share flyers and stuff like that to the whole community, not just these apartment complex parking lots.
So you mentioned stopping by these apartment complexes so far. Is this just going up, knocking on some doors, being like, hey, just a reminder, lock your doors, or what is this kind of POP project all entail so far?
So far I've been in contact with a lot of apartment managers, and I've tried to ask them what do they have in place right now, because like I said, it's a crime of opportunity. There's some apartment complexes that don't even have cameras or very good lighting, and that all is related. So when these people are going around, they're like, well, I'm not in the light, nobody can see me. It just adds to why they would do it more. So I'm trying to encourage apartment managers to make sure they get cameras if they can afford it, and start implementing lighting, just to try to deter that behavior. And then I've been trying to gather numbers on how many residents there are, because as of now I've created, with the help of my sister, she's actually a graphic design artist, and she's helped me create a flyer kind of with those numbers I was talking about earlier. And I'm going to try to distribute that to, well, we're going to make a Facebook post. It might actually, I think it's coming out today. The chief's going to post that today. But that flyer I'm going to hopefully try to get out to the apartment complexes and see if the residents can just have a physical copy of that, just to say, hey, lock your doors, because really that's all it takes to prevent some of this stuff. So,
how much extra of this time is this taking up working on this project besides, you know, your regular duties of being an officer?
It does take up some time, and it's difficult because I work second shift, and that's probably the busiest shift. I'd like to, ideally, part of my plan is to patrol these parking lots later at night when it's darker, but a lot of times I really can't, because there's just so much other stuff going on. I have other calls that I gotta go to, but yeah, it's
one thing we noticed too is technology is starting to be our friend on these things, and the Ring cameras. A lot of people are like catching people like come up their driveway and test their door handles on the Ring cameras. What we would love for those people to do, because a lot of times they're like, oh, they didn't get in, no big deal, no damage, is report those, because even though they didn't get into your vehicle, they might have got into like 7 of them down the road that were open. So if you got footage of someone like that, we definitely would be interested in that, because we're trying to obviously identify these people, and if we can do that, a lot of times if we catch them, we can tie them to several cars. In my career, I've caught some people that have done vehicle entries, and it's kind of interesting. Like some of the things that they steal are just like pointless, like an air freshener or a keychain, or you'd be surprised. And then a lot of times they just usually have pockets full of change, like they're just jingling around down the road. And I had it where I had someone, I think they broke into 11 cars that night, and trying to trace back, but by these little insignificant things, all these vehicle entries, and you can do it because of the weird things they end up taking.
Interesting. And again, yeah, I mean, I guess if you try and open the handle and all you see is a handful of pennies and nickels, a few quarters sprinkled in there, they just grab that and then they're got a bunch of change in their pocket, and then they'll probably be at the bank pretty soon, right?
Most of the time, that's what they're looking for, is that change, just that quick money. Sometimes people will leave like checkbooks though, or credit cards in there, and that's where it gets real hairy, because then they could move on to identity theft and try to like raid your bank accounts. We've had some people on occasion leave firearms in vehicles, which is obviously a major concern. Then this person all of a sudden has their hands on a firearm. We don't know what their intentions are with that. So number one is, for one, don't leave your firearms in your vehicles. But number two is just if you just make that extra step of just locking your door. And a lot of people, like, Fond du Lac's not that big of a city, and we all know that. We've lived here for a while, and it's nice that we feel safe here. But that safety shouldn't be taken for granted, because there are people that are just looking for money or just looking to do something, and they choose this lifestyle of checking doors and going through cars, and we just have to prepare ourselves by doing one simple step of locking our doors, and that can help in so many aspects. There hasn't been that many times in my career, 20 years, where we've had people that routinely break the window to get in, but it has happened. So that has happened. We did have a serial one where they went around, and it was probably like, I think they were up to like maybe 10 to 20 vehicles, and we ended up catching them eventually. But that was really bad, because they break your window to grab $10 and change maybe, and it's like the cost of the window is like far more than that.
Definitely. As we have Officer Clapper in, we got Lieutenant Williams in, and we got Officer Malloy as well. How's it treating you so far, being on the road flying solo?
It feels good. It does. Field training was a really good experience, but I definitely felt a lot more pressure. Always just having that person next to me, I was wondering if I'm messing up or something like that. But it was a good experience. But now being by myself, it's nice to kind of be my own officer and have my own taste on how I do things.
Mm-hmm. And is there anything different than what you expected it would be like?
I'm just still learning.
Gotcha.
I mean, there's still so much to learn, which I guess I kind of expected, but yeah, I mean, every day is a new day. Some calls are similar, but every day there's something different. So
Awesome.
One thing I would like to add about vehicles and locking your car or stuff like that is a few falls ago, I kind of did my own little project on vehicle thefts because we had went like a month span in November when the weather started to get cold. People were letting their cars run with the keys in the ignition. And I want to say almost every single day for like 2 weeks straight, people were getting their cars stolen. We ended up getting information on one of the stolen cars, and I ended up arresting a whole bunch of people. I think like 10 juveniles from this case because they were going around stealing cars
Wow.
like every single day. But there is a city ordinance. It's called leaving of ignition keys in the parked car. So it says no person shall park a passenger automobile within the city limits that is not equipped with a lock suitable to lock either the starting lever, throttle, steering apparatus, gear shifter, or ignition system. Furthermore, no person shall allow a passenger in his custody to control or remain unattended by a licensed driver on any street, alley, highway, or any other public place within the city limits except an attended parking area unless all the car doors are locked or the starting lever, throttle, steering apparatus, gear shift, or ignition of such vehicle is locked. So basically, that kind of it puts in violation these people that let their cars run in the winter, where we see these uptick in vehicle thefts because they leave their cars running outside or they run into the gas station quick and leave their keys in it. And ultimately, it's a city ordinance now. If someone steals your vehicle, we're not going to give you a ticket for it. But that's something to take in mind because people will go around exactly crime of opportunity like Officer Malloy was talking about. They're just going to go around and shake the door handles, and if they find a car that's running, it happens quite often where they just drive away with your vehicle. So that's something to keep in mind as well. If you're going to keep it running, maybe have a second set of keys, or if you have push button start, just do that and don't leave the keys in the ignition because it's, again, a crime of opportunity.
Definitely makes sense. Guys, really appreciate the time this morning. You're listening to News Talk 1450 and 100.7 KFIZ.